Take a look at round 13 NFBC high stakes leagues drafts over the last couple of weeks. Of course, we're just a handful of days away from opening day in Major League Baseball happening on Thursday. Jordan, you kill me, dude. I was just kidding with you. So round 13 here, Dustin May up at the top for the Dodgers. May is interesting. The Dodgers, I think that they've, shipped off a couple players, and I like the under on their win total. And just for the Dodgers, I think that they're going to be all in on Shohei Ohtani. I really do think that Shohei Ohtani is going to be a guy that they're going to get. Tyler Glasnow in there, just some injury concerns with Glasnow. If he can get you 150 innings, he could possibly return value, but there's a little bit of risk with Glasnow staying healthy over the past couple of years. Rowdy Tellez, right? It's got some pop. Not a bad target, outside pick 150 here on average at 151. It's got some pop. You like the ballpark that he plays in. Kyle Wright's a really good pitcher. I think he's an underrated pitcher. He's got some nasty stuff and he had a really good season last year. How about Cal Raleigh? I really like him. I think, as I mentioned off the top of the show, if you're drafting on Yahoo, there's a couple catchers that are certainly buried down. I like the Contreras brothers. Those are certainly two targets for me. They go slightly earlier than I would like to pull the trigger on a catcher. I got a couple hitting players that you guys can get after, I'm going to show you in the next block, but Cal is certainly one of those guys for me. And just kind of looking over some numbers. I mean, last season was certainly a breakout campaign for him. 27 bombs for him. I do like the lineup in Seattle. It's a little bit underrated. When I think about the Mariners, I think about their staff. I think it's one of the better pitching staffs in the bigs, and I like their bullpen, and certainly like the over in the 87.5 win total. I think this is a team that can get to 90 again, but he may not hit 27 bombs, but he can certainly hit 20. I mean, our projections have him for over 20. Most Fangraphs projections have him for over 20. Steamer has him for 22. Zips has him for 24. The average is not going to be spectacular. If you get 220, that's fantastic. You love that really from your catcher position. But I think he's a top 12 catcher. I think he can be. I think he has upside to be a top 10 catcher. And if you're playing in two catcher leagues like NFBC formats, he goes a little bit earlier here, and that's why the ADP is slightly higher, around 150. But in Yahoo, he's going to be buried down the list. I took him in a couple of drafts over the weekend, outside round 15, and I was pretty happy with what I got. I agree with Jordan Allen here on Dustin May. I think he could be in for a pretty good season. He's got some decent stuff there, and there's some injuries inside the rotation right now. Gonsolin's going to miss some time to start the season with an ankle injury. We know Walker Buehler is recovering from Tommy John, and then Clayton Kershaw pitched last night in the freeway game between the Angels and the Dodgers. He looked fantastic, but Kershaw is a guy that he's had some injury issues, of course, throughout his career. Let's bring that board back up here, George, if you don't mind, to see some of the other names that are on it. So Brendan Lowe, I mean, he's got some pop, right? The second base position is super weak, especially with Jose Altuve going to miss the first 2 months of the season. Pretty weak. I really do like Drew Rasmussen. I think he's a pretty strong target. A really solid 1.91 walks per nine last season. Keeps the ball on the ground for the most part. Had a 2.84 ERA. His xFIP slightly higher at 3.56. But he does some good stuff. I think he can get up to about 160 innings, maybe 30 starts for you. He's not going to have a 9K per nine. Like, I don't usually have these guys on my radar that are not going to strike out. Like 125 strikeouts in 146 innings is not spectacular, but we are talking about, we're getting deeper here into the pitcher pool. But he's going to have some decent ratios for you. It's just, you're not going to get, I think he can get up to 8K per nine. Like his strikeout percentage last year was 21%. Can he get to 22, 23, 24? Maybe that's pushing it, the 24 mark, but I think he is a really decent pitcher to target in this range. And I like Ryan Mountcastle quite a bit. He's having a really good spring. He had 22 home runs last year. In his sophomore season, he had 33. So 55 homers in, his last 2 years. The average probably going to be around 260, 265. The strikeout rate jumped down from 27 to 25 from 2021 to 2022. Like the lineup, actually, I think Baltimore's lineup is pretty underrated, and they got some kids that are going to be in the lineup at some point this season. He's got some pop in his bat. I mean, the ISO is strong from 2 years ago, 232. This is a guy that I like quite a bit. The fly ball rate is high, 41%, 42% 2 seasons ago. I know that they that I mentioned at Camden's a little bit different. It was good for pitchers, of course, last season, but still, I think it's still a pretty decent ballpark to hit in, and a good division. So Mountcastle he's been a target of mine. I really like where he goes in drafts. As you see, first base position is not fantastic. I like the fact that he's hitting cleanup for the O's. What else do we have on that list? Ian Happ was another guy. Our guy, Matty Wood, man. He loves Ian Happ. Ian Happ's on this list at pick 155 on average. All Maddie's talked about over the 2-3 years that I've known him is Ian Happ. And I don't mind it, right? I mean, double digit homers, 9 stolen bases in each of the last 2 years. He can get it to like 20 homers and 10 stolen bases. The average 271 last year, maybe an outlier. It was a career high mark for him last year. BABIP was also a career high for him, 336. But I think he can be a 250 hitter, a double digit walk rate, maybe a little bit more value in an on base percentage league. Strikeouts, from 29% to 23% last year. I think the Cubbies are going to have a sneaky decent lineup this season. See Suzuki's going to miss a little bit of time. He's a value. He's been going like round 20, 21, 22, in Yahoo leagues because of the injury. He's going to miss some time, but I think, it's okay. It's not a huge risk to take him on at that point. Dansby Swanson they brought in, Cody Bellinger they brought in. I think the Cubbies may have a sneaky underrated offensive lineup, and I think Ian Happ is a decent target, especially in rotisserie leagues. Is not a lot of guys that you can get double digit stolen bases on that board from around pick 150. Welcome back in. Let's take a look at round 14. Same thing here. NFBC high stakes leagues ADP from the last 2 weeks. People putting their hard earned bucks, and right away, you see Suzuki there. Right. When you're drafting on Yahoo and you see he's going to miss a little bit of time, it's like high stakes players are not worried about that. I mean, he has the upside to return value, even if he misses a little bit of time. You see Charlie Morton up at the top. Just going to rattle off some of the names for the iTunes and Spotify listeners. Charlie Morton at pick 159. I think this is terrific value. Honestly, it was tough for me to leave him off my starting pitching list, but I'll bring up that list again in the next block with the hitters. But this is a guy that he's just a workhorse over the past couple of years. 194 innings, 185, 172. And you take a look at some of the strikeouts. I mean, 205 last year, 216, 240 in 2019. This is a guy that is going to at least get 180 strikeouts. I think he can get up to 120. Most projections have him for like 160 innings. I think that's super, super conservative. I understand that he's 39 years old, but I wouldn't be shocked if he flirted with, 180 innings and 200 strikeouts again. So I do believe that he is a really good target. For where he was going in the draft. I think he's a strong target. Matt Chapman there for the Blue Jays, third base, he's got a little bit of pop there. The average is not going to be good. It's a great lineup, right? He's going to be hitting down the lineup at 6, 7 spot at times, probably 6. But Matt Chapman is a decent, I mean, his fielding is fantastic, right? That's not going to help you in fantasy, but he does have some pop and it's a really good lineup. Suzuki there, Pablo Lopez, Lars Nootbaar. We were saying before the break me off a piece of that Nootbaar for Lars. This is a guy that we talked about quite a bit last year. Nootbaar just sounds like a chocolate bar name, right? But last year, MLB picked some props around the diamond when my guy MLB Dream came on. I found myself always talking about Nootbaar. He was leading off, midway through the season. He took over the leadoff role for the Cardinals. He may not lead off every day against lefties. He is a lefty bat, although he did hit 278 against Southpaws last year. But he broke out 14 homers in 108 games, 347 plate appearances. If people really didn't recognize him from last year, he made a name for himself in the World Baseball Classic. I think he can get up to like 8 stolen bases, maybe 8 to 10. I think he can get well over 500 plate appearances, maybe flirt with 200 homers, a double-digit walk rate, 14.7 walk percentage last year, strikeout percentage at 20.5. So maybe his on-base percentage can get back up to 340, which he had last year. I think he can improve as a hitter too. It's a really good lineup as well. I think he's good enough to lead off almost every single day against lefties, but there will be times where maybe he is not leading off and he's down the order. There's a lot of nice pieces in the St. Louis Cardinals order, so I do like him quite a bit as a target there. Another name that I saw on that list is George's boy, Masataka Yoshida. Maybe I'll rattle through. Estrada here at pick 167, second short eligibility for the Giants. I think he's a decent target. Reed Detmer's talked a lot about him already. Paul Sewald, he's going to be the closer for Seattle. Munoz goes ahead of him. And we talked about this, I think, last week with Munoz. He's got nastier stuff. I think he's definitely going to get some saves, but he's probably better suited in like a high leverage situation. I think Sewald will lead the team in saves. There's going to be a lot of wins there for Seattle this season. I think he's a really good target. I don't like to target closers early outside of a rotisserie league, and a head-to-head, I won't do it. But, I think he makes for a really good target in those head-to-head formats. Saves is one category in a head-to-head format. In a rotisserie league, you can't be, you got to be at least middle of the pack in saves or you just won't win. So you're going to want to attack the closer position early, get yourself a top 5, top 10, and then a couple pieces in around that range. Sorry, George, I ramble so much that I really need you to kind of keep it up for a second so I can get through. You're a goat. I love you. Eugenio Suarez, another guy too, just like Chapman, a mid to late round third baseman that can get you 25, 30 homers. I think I'd rather Chapman. Brian Hayes is a guy that actually could be a difference maker for some people, right? As a prospect a couple of years ago, as a hot prospect that a lot of people wanted a piece of in fantasy, and he was kind of underwhelming. But last year, 7 homers and 20 stolen bases. He could probably have 30 combined homers and stolen bases, hit 260 potentially. He could be a difference maker. Wouldn't be surprised. Chris Bassett's going to give you the innings. Not a huge strikeout pitcher, but he is going to, the ratios should be fine. He's a decent target there. And for Yoshida, George, I think he's going to be a good player for you guys. He really did. So I didn't know a lot about him, of course. I haven't seen a lot of him. Of his game, but in the World Baseball Classic, I thought he was great. It sounds like he's going to hit cleanup for the Boston Red Sox. I really like Triston Casas, leading off. More on him in the next block in that one spot. He got Devers and then Justin Turner and then Yoshida here. I think he's going to have like good ratios. I don't know how many homers he's going to have. I don't know if he's going to have many more than 20, but he showed me a couple things in the World Baseball Classic. There was one homer he had off big league pitching where he went down on one knee and it was like deep to right. Like that showed me that he could hit big league pitching and he could add a couple bombs. It's a decent lineup. It's not as good as in years past, but still going to score some runs. It's a good ballpark. It's a good division for him as well. I'm talking up the Red Sox and he just busts out that. That's fantastic. That's the look when I see the Angels Twitter handle tweet that they have a scary rotation. They have a scary rotation this year. Shohei is good. This is it right here. Don't mess around with the scare rotation stuff. It's a decent rotation. It's not scary. Nobody's scared of that rotation after Shohei Ohtani. I like Anderson. He's going to regress, but I do like Tyler Anderson. I like Patrick Sandoval. I do not like Suarez as a 5. Come on, give your head a shake with the scary rotation when your 5 is like a guy that's going to be bumped out of the rotation a little bit. I do want to give some love to Reed Detmers. I'll save it. I'll do it in the next block again. I think I've given enough love to him, but that is one guy that I really do like inside the rotation. He is rising up draft boards. So talk about him and some undervalued hitters to target in your drafts coming up. If you have a draft tonight, we're going to help you out there. Back in a couple. So up at the top, Austin Riley, not undervalued, but third base position, I don't really love it. I think Riley is just a complete stud, and I love the Braves lineup. George put him on the So Rare card, so proceed with caution. I'm just kidding. There's no jinxes on that So Rare card. No chance. Austin Riley's got a lot of pop. Love the lineup. The second base position is so weak. So I listed a couple guys here, like Jazz Chisholm has really jumped up draft boards because of the Jose Altuve injury, but the second base position really is so weak. He doesn't have outfield eligibility yet, but he will get it. He's just got a ton of speed and along with power. The lineup is improved. Don't love the ballpark, but it is slightly improved with Luis Arraez there, potentially leading off. If it's not him, maybe it's Jazz. But again, second base position, super, super weak. I still think that there is value there for Jazz. And I also put Jimenez on the board as well, Andreas, because, he's a guy that can give you, he's going pretty, not late, but later, like average pick 70, later than Jazz. If you don't get Jazz, like what are you doing at the second base position? I don't think you want to punt it altogether. I think you do want to attack it. And Jimenez can give you like maybe 30 combined homers and stolen bases. Like it's not too bad. So I just put a couple second basemen on there. Randy Arozarena, like he's a guy that I certainly like. And I would rather have Luis Robert. These guys are kind of all bunched in together. Arozarena, Varsho, and Luis Robert. Varsho's got that catcher eligibility. I like a lefty bat inside the Jays lineup. I think he can get to 25 homers. He can steal you a couple bags as well. And, at times he's going to be hitting behind all those big guys, right? And most of the year he should be anyways behind Vlad and Bo and Springer. Opportunity to drive in a lot of runs. Great ballpark. I think Dalton's going to have a great season for the Jays. I love that pickup. They really needed a southpaw bat in that lineup. Brendan Belt's not on this list, but I think he's a decent target late. I think he's already, dealing with something. But Luis Robert for me is like, I'm a sucker for him. I know I've talked about him a lot over the past couple of years, given some long shots, MVP odds. I'll probably go down the road again with him as well. We haven't seen, full playing time from Luis Robert yet, but he has just shown us what he can do. I think he's got like 25, 30 home run potential. I think he can flirt with 20 stolen bases. I think he can give you a good 280 average. It's just like a really not undervalued by any reason, but I think he's a really good target. Taylor Ward as well. He was a free agent waiver wire darling last year for a lot of us. He helped me win some championships and a lot of people out there as well. 23 homers and 5 stolen bases, hit 281. I think he's more of a 265, maybe 270 hitter, but I think he can get up to 20 homers again, maybe flirt with 10 stolen bases. He's going to lead off for the Halos. So if he's leading off for the Angels and Ohtani and Trout is healthy, Rendon's had a fantastic spring. Take with a grain of salt. I think he's a good dart throw at the end of your draft for a third baseman. I don't have him on the list. I thought about it, but I didn't want to be that guy. But the Angels lineup, I mean, should be good this season. There's no question about their offense. It's about their staff and their bullpen. But Taylor Ward leading off for the Halos, there's value there. Jeremy Pena, I really just don't understand it. He's moving up draft boards now because Altuve is out and he's going to lead off, but I don't even care. Like when Altuve is back and the lineup is loaded and if he's hitting down the order, I just don't care. He's that good of a player. I mean, his defense is terrific. He's got speed. As a rookie, 22 homers, 11 stolen bases, won the ALCS MVP, World Series MVP. He's just a fantastic hitter, and I'm just shocked where he's going in drafts. Sean Murphy mentioned Cal in the last block. I think both of those catchers going around the same parts of draft. I think they're both solid. Mentioned Nootbaar. Break me off a piece of that Nootbaar in the last block. I like Casas. I like Casas a lot, actually. George, I think you're going to be pretty happy with Triston Casas. He's got some pop. He'll lead off here for the Red Sox. Maybe, I think, again, could flirt with 80 runs at the leadoff position. Outside pick 150, even deeper than that in Yahoo leagues. Tovar is, I think for the rotisserie players out there, he's probably going to hit in like the 9 spot, but he get you a little bit of power and some speed. Some projections for him, just going to rattle off quickly, 14, 15 stolen bases with like 15, 16 home runs at Coors, right? There's going to be some growing pains with him. The average, maybe 260, 270. I think he can creep up to that number. I mean, throughout the minors, because of the speed, he had some really good campaigns hitting 300 and whatnot, but he's a guy that I think will, it's like maybe slow start for him, right? We didn't see a whole lot from him last year, just 9 games, 35 plate appearances. So I would just be cautious, just hang on, right? You're not going to win your fantasy baseball championship in the first month, right? But that's a guy that I think you're really going to like. Volpe, we talked about last week as a guy at 10-1 we have in the tracker to win the AL Rookie of the Year. Now he's made the squad and that 10-1 number is gone, but that's another guy that's got tremendous power and speed. Like him a lot, quite a bit. So if you can get him in your drafts, especially rotisserie leagues, is a guy that I think will hit in the 9 spot. But, if he hits really well to start the season, we could see him in the leadoff spot potentially. So have him kind of starred, especially in a rotisserie league. I think he can get to like 20, 25 stolen bases, maybe 15 homers. What a fantastic spring from him. A couple other rookies there, like Jung is on the board. I took off Miguel Vargas for the Dodgers, but I do like him as like a nice little pick too. Playing time should be there for him with the Dodgers. Laureano could get traded. I think he's just a good value. Can give you some speed and some pop. I know it's because Oakland, that's why he goes, super late. Fraley's another guy, great spring. He's got some pop. Manuel Margot, going pretty late. Outfielder's got some pop in his bat and also some stolen base potential. And then 2 dart throws towards the end. Jerickson Profar, he's going to lead off with the Rockies, right? Say what you want about Profar. He's never going to live up to the expectations, but at Coors, leadoff guy, basically free. And then Derek Hall, I think he's going to have first base eligibility with Rhys Hoskins done for the season. They got to pencil in a roster resource as the cleanup guy for the Phillies. Of course, that won't be the case when Bryce Harper comes, but he's free in drafts and he's got some pop in his bat as well.
So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.